morning to all of you. So welcome to the seminar on higher studies and research opportunities with IIT Bombay. Of course, we are privileged to have IIT Bombay collaborating with us, and number one university in India, and also one of the world-renowned technical institutes. So today we have the eminent scholars and the administrators from IIT Bombay. Professor S. Sudarshan, Deputy Director, Academic and Infrastructural Affairs. Then Professor Preeta Pan, Associate Dean, Academic Programs. And Professor Amit Agrawal, Dean, International Relations. So welcome all of you. And also we have 22 participants right now, but I heard there were more than 35 registered. So I hope they will join soon. So without taking much time, we'll start the proceeding. And I kindly invite Professor Sudarshan to start his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamalnath, for this opportunity to have this meeting between IIT Bombay and your university. As somebody who has been in IIT Bombay for a long time, but has also been in other places outside India, I recognize that it is very important to have a mixture of people, a diversity of people from various places. And it is something which benefits both sides. The goal of this effort is to have more people from Sri Lanka come and join us, which I'm sure will benefit the students who come. But what is very important to recognize is that any international collaboration like this actually benefits both sides. It benefits us as the IIT system faculty over here to have students from outside come in. But even more important, it benefits our own students who get to see a slice of life from elsewhere in the world, which they don't see otherwise. Things are relatively insular in that sense. Of course, India is a big country. We have a lot of diversity within India. But I think it's very important that we get people from outside India also. And Sri Lanka is perfectly placed for this. We are close neighbors with very rich ties for a very long time. I think our people understand each other culturally, and there won't be any issues, cultural difficulties for students from Sri Lanka coming here. And I hope that some people from IIT will also visit Sri Lanka correspondingly in the future. But I think today's thing is to get some of your students to come and join us. Now, I'm sure most of your students might have heard about the IIT system and probably a little bit about IIT Bombay also. But what we realize is that even within India, people have sort of a narrow view of what IITs are about. In particular, within India, there's a general view that IIT is only about undergraduate education. And that is partly because we have this hyper-competitive bachelor's program which people spend years and years studying just to have a chance at getting in. However, that is not all of IIT. Of course, that's a very important part of IIT, but that's not all of IIT. The other part of IIT, which is less recognized historically, but is becoming more important as we go forward, is that we have a very, very strong postgraduate program. We have master's students, a lot of them, and we have an even larger number of PhD students across a large number of areas. This, we are primarily a technical university. Initially, it was just engineering primarily, but of course, along with engineering come the sciences. And in recent years, we have added a lot of biosciences, and that has actually been very good for us as an institute, because as we go forward, there's a huge marriage between biosciences and information sciences, and even mechanical sciences, automation, and a whole bunch of other things. And these are all areas which benefit greatly from collaborating with each other. And that's the whole point of a university, that you should have diversity and the ability to collaborate. So as IIT Bombay, we have grown from, in the last 30 years or so, we've grown from probably around 300 faculty to more than 700, and from 3,000 students to about 12,000 students currently. And we will continue growing going forward. It is in a mandate. The government has supported it, and the government is also very encouraging about getting international students here to IIT Bombay. So we hope that this is the first of many more outreaches like this. But this one is particularly important because I think this is one of the first times we are doing it. And we really hope we'll have good collaboration with your university, both at the student level and at the faculty level also going forward. Look forward to today's program. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Professor Darshan, for your thoughts. So before we go for the next presentation, I would like to invite Professor Preeta Pant. She's the Associate Dean of the Academic Programs from IIT Bombay. And just a kind reminder to all our participants, if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A section. And then we are very happy to take them later after the presentation. So that's a kind reminder for all the attendees. So over to you, Professor Preeta.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me here as part of this panel. So I think Professor Sudarshan has about summed up our motivations for trying to get international students into IIT Bombay. I do think that it helps to broaden the perspective that our students have. Actually, coming to IIT Bombay itself is the first leap that they make, right? From their homes, their neighbors, their friends, their cities, to now coming to what is almost like a small city. They are surrounded by students from all over the country who come from various regional, linguistic, dietary backgrounds and preferences and so on. And I think it helps. I mean, I'm trying to look at my journey from coming from a small town in the north of India and how much the exposure shaped who I have become. And I think then, you go from your town, your city to your country, and then you meet people from other countries. And I realized how when I went off to do my PhD, I realized how little of the way of the world I knew, right? That there are different ways of doing things. That there are different values that people emphasize, but at the end of the day, when you meet them, right, if your students come here, there is still that common goal of research, of learning, and of having fun. And I think more than anything else, these student outreaches is what is going to help us become more connected. To let our students see that at the end of the day, people are just people. They have the same fears, they have the same strengths, they have the same motivations, and they strive to achieve those goals. In the end, we are just people. And at least to me, that's the best part about student exchange, is to build these linkages away from world politics and away from other constraints. So having said that, my hat as Associate Dean of Academic Programs, I think Professor Agarwal has a fairly detailed presentation. What I would like to emphasize is that, one, the diversity of academic programs that we offer, not just in engineering and science, but now also in humanities, which includes social sciences and economics, in fields such as policy studies. We have a very well-reputed design school, and we are diversifying. We are continuously coming up with new programs, both at the undergraduate and at the postgraduate and PhD level. So I think if your students are looking for a place to study, they will find that we can cater to a variety of interests in our campus. Plus, like I said, this campus is a mini city. In a bustling metropolis like Bombay, we are, I hate to use the word oasis, but we are certainly like an island of green and relative tranquility. And it's a good place. It's a safe place in which to get introduced to a city like Bombay and a country like India. And we are also, with all these academic programs and competitiveness and so on, we are also a very student friendly place. We have our academic rules and requirements, but at the same time we are also very tuned into the needs of an individual student, maybe the constraints of individual students, and we do try to take that into account in our decision making process. So I think your students will find that, even our Dean of International Relations, or for that matter, even our Deputy Director, are fairly approachable people. So they need not hesitate from that perspective. If they think that, okay, how would I settle into a new place? How would I, fit into a different academic program? The whole Dean IR office is geared towards helping them make that settlement. And if needed, we in the academic office are there to liaise with Dean IR office and help iron out any academic issues that arise. So with that, I do hope that students will consider us as a place where they would like to pursue their academics. Please do pose any questions that occur to you right now or later. Thank you so much for hearing us out.
Thank you very much. Now the next presentation is from Professor Amit, right?
Yes, so I will share my screen. So first of all, let me just thank Dr. Kamalnath, Professor Shameen, and Mr. Roshan. You have provided us a wonderful opportunity to talk to your students and to provide, to make this presentation possible. So what I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, yes.
So what I'm going to talk about to all the prospective students who are here, essentially 4 things. We will tell you about the academic programs that we have. We will tell you about the R&D activities that goes on. Then we will talk about life, which is there in IIT Bombay as a student that would be leading. And finally, the opportunities that you would have if you decide to come over and study at IIT Bombay. So as you know, and as Professor Sudarshan and Professor Preeta have already mentioned, that IIT are some of the most premier institutes in the country. There are 23 IITs, and IIT Bombay is undoubtedly the most sought after institute in the country. We are located in Bombay, which, as Professor Preeta has said, is a big city, but we are in the heart of that city. And we have a lot of greenery. Fortunately, we have a lot of greenery. And this greenery, of course, leads us to some unwanted visitors like what you see here. But otherwise, it's a very residential campus. So again, it's a mini city where, and if you look back, and this is one feedback that we get from a lot of our alumni, that there was a lot of learning that happened from the peers. So being in a campus, closely interacting with the fellow students and the other staff and faculty members, there's a lot of learning that happens and a lot of fun and other activities that also happen on campus. So what you would see is that the campus is not just a great learning place, but also a place with a lot of fun, where a lot of other cultural and sports activities also happen, and which help in the overall development of every student that walks into our campus. So the institute has around 12,000 students on roll. And as you can see that a very large percentage of them are postgraduate students, and around 25% of the student population is PhD students. We also have a good number of postdocs and project staff, which are all working in the institute. And these are guided by around 700 faculty members who are full-time faculty members working in various departments. So we are essentially an engineering school. So we have all the major branches of engineering represented. You can see the list here. We have sciences. Again, most of the major sciences are covered. We also have humanities, design school, uh, the management, school of management and such things. Then we also recognize that a lot of these things cannot be, a lot of the needs of the present time cannot be catered by these conventional departments. So we have centers and interdisciplinary programs where we basically students can get exposed to issues in climate studies or issues in urban science and engineering. Similarly, uh, there are some modern areas in present times like machine learning and data sciences, which is something where we have interdisciplinary program in these areas as well. So moving on and sort of saying that because or recognizing the need that we cannot just work individually in our own domains, but people from various expertise have to actually come together and to solve a more realistic problem. So with that in mind, a lot of these centers have been put up, have been started in the institute or are there functioning in our institute. So you see centers like where for example, for defense-oriented work goes on, for example, in propulsion technology, again, where people from aerospace, mechanical, electronics, etc., comes in and solve problems for the defense sector. Or similarly, we have advanced manufacturing system. And as we've said that modern requirements, for modern requirements, we have machine intelligence and data science center. Similarly, as we said, for interdisciplinary nature, we have this bioengineering center where people from biology, chemistry, and a lot of engineering disciplines come together towards some common goals. So in these centers and departments, we provide a very high quality education. And as Mr. Sudarshan have mentioned, we have a very competitive exam for entrance at the undergraduate level. And what you can see from the first point here, and this is something which is very, very, just to sort of emphasize that how highly rated our programs are, we can see that 60 of the top 100 rankers prefer to come to IIT Bombay as compared to other 22 other options that they would see otherwise. And this happens because we have a very flexible UG program or flexible programs. All our programs are very flexible. There is option for minor, there is option for dual degree, interdisciplinary nature of programs. We also provide a lot of hands-on experience to the students by basically tinkering or doing things. There are several technical clubs where the students can learn beyond the classrooms. And the students do participate in international competitions and get exposure that way as well. So at our master's level, we have various degrees being offered by the various departments and centers that we have seen in the previous slide. So we have typically masters in technology and tech is what we call them. But again, depending on which department or which program you're enrolled in, we can have other degree programs as well. And so all the way from masters in technology to masters in business administration, MBA, we offer a whole basket of these master's programs or master degrees. Similarly, we have most of these departments and centers providing offering PhD degrees, which are typically 4 to 5 years with 1 year of coursework. So typically the student would spend 1 year in courses and then the remaining 3 to 4 years doing research under the guidance of a faculty member, or they can be more than that, more than one person, and they can be interdisciplinary programs as well. So that was a very brief introduction to the programs that we have. Now I will give you a glimpse of what are the type of research activities that goes on. Of course, these activities are done mostly by our MTech and PhD students. So they are the backbone of how this research is happening. So in numbers, first, let me just give you some numbers. We said we have 700 faculty, and you can see that there are around 1,000 projects that are getting executed, research projects that are getting executed in the institute per year. Similarly, we have 1,000 plus consultancy projects. So these consultancy projects are of direct benefit to the industry. So the institute interacts with around 300 industry, or we get industry requests from at least 300 different industries. So again, just to show that the expertise that exists in the institute is actually very much valued, not just by the students, but also by the industry. And these industries are actually not just confined to India, but at the global giants also want to come and interact and learn from our faculty members. So we have a lot of advanced facilities for research. So this is just one of the centers that we have called Sophisticated Analytical Instrumentation Facility. So here you will see a large number of very high-end instruments uh, that are housed here. And this is also, this is just one of the centers that we have, which is housing all these research facilities. In fact, each of the departments and each of the faculty members' lab have very high-end research facilities. So you can easily recognize that these are state-of-the-art, or most of the state-of-the-art instruments that exist anywhere in the world. We have them, and of course the students are making very good use of them and doing some very good work. For example, in this slide, we just present one example where people are involved. This is a bioengineering center where people are, and this is donated by an old alumnus and a businessman now, who has actually gone out and done very well. He has provided some generous donation, and this generous donation has allowed people not just from bio school, but also from chemistry and engineering disciplines to come together and make the types of devices and the other, provide other engineering solutions to problems that exist out there. Similarly, this is another example of how the research which was done by students have translated into some meaningful product. Here is a picture of one of our professors, and this is some of the things that have been developed and gone out into the market. So this slide essentially gives you a sense of uh, that this is not just one or two technologies that we're talking about, a very large number of technologies which are first developed, protected through patents, and then translated into products. And that is happening at a very regular sort of a pace. And here are some examples of products that have come out of the campus of our institute. And these have so there are a large number of these startups. The students are encouraged at the end, if they have developed something which can be translated into a product, then the students are actually encouraged to have a startup. And you can see that this startup activity started uh, like not even 2 decades back, like less than 20 years back. And we have 174 companies which have already been incubated in our society for innovation and entrepreneurship. And if you know about these startups, a very large number of them actually are not successful. A large percentage, more than 90% or even 98% get folded up. Whereas what you see here are very large percentage of these companies actually doing very good. So that means that shows the strong value, the strong IP, the patent, and the product that has been developed by these companies, starting from some of these MTech or PhD thesis work, and then essentially translating into something which is very meaningful and something which is making a difference in the society at large. So because of this, I mean, sometimes our region is touted as the Powai Valley, as you can see from this newspaper article, where it's like analogous to Silicon Valley. That's the name that was coined by, actually the coined by the journalist or the media community itself, for describing the type of innovation and the type of quality of things that is happening in our institute. So, but we have more than just science and technology. We have, as we said, we have humanities, we have design school, we have school of management. So here you see a picture of one of our faculty members getting a very prestigious award from the President of India for the best animation film, which she had produced. And so in terms of numbers, you can see that the 700 faculty we have, for the 700 faculty, we have a very good number of research output. The number of companies we have already said, we have large number of patents. Very large number of patents are getting filed every year. Around 100 plus patents are getting filed every year. We have been, the number of PhDs which are graduating is increasing, steadily increasing. from 200 maybe to 500, 600, we don't know. We are continuously increasing number of PhDs, which are PhD degrees that are getting awarded. So now what I would, so this was to give you a sense of our research and our teaching and our research programs. Now I will give you very quickly, show you how the campus looks like and how is life on our campus. So this is a video. So this is a picture, or this is a movie that was made by using a drone. So this gives you an overall view, a bird's eye view of our campus. So this is our main building, and then we have the student activity center. This is the student activity center that you see here. This is our ground for playing. This houses a lot of uh, indoor stadiums and indoor courts. So this is a shot of the cultural event that was happening, or that happens every year. So then this is a view of the lake, as you would see from the hostel. And then we have a small hill where you can actually go up for a small trek. And this is a view of the hostel that you see here. And you can see the lake behind the hostel. So hopefully this has given you an idea of how the campus looks like. And as we said that our campus is places a lot of emphasis, as Professor Preeta Pant has already said, that it places a lot of emphasis on just beyond studies, and we are a very friendly sort of institute. So, so you can see that a lot of cultural events happen on campus. In fact, we are proud to host the largest cultural event which happens in anywhere in Asia. And we also have a very similarly a science festival which happens. Some pictures of that is what you see here. So we have the most modern sports facilities as well, some of which you have already seen from the drone view, from the view of in the movie that was played. So we have, for example, a lot of indoor uh, uh, indoor stadium or indoor sports facilities, indoor sports arena. We have gymnasium. We have Olympic size swimming pool, for example. And so we have looked at the academics part, we have looked at the fun part, and there are students who tend to combine both of them. You can combine both of them and build something like a satellite here. So this was the first satellite that was launched or that was made by any student team, and this was actually launched by the Indian Space Research Organization. And then you see that the students have actually made swimming fishes or other activities. They have built solar houses as part of various events that they participate, and where the institute encourages them to undertake these activities, where you again combine what you learn with trying to solve some of these modern and relevant problems. So moving on, and because of this complete education that we provide, we have actually had very proud alumni in our who have actually walked through the corridors of our institute. So we have a few examples which are shown here. In fact, there are very many more examples that we could have projected. But these are people who have actually gone out and done well, not just in academia, but in other spheres of life, just to sort of provide a view, a sense that the holistic education that is being provided by the institute. So we see a picture of a very famous person who has gone out and done very well in the business world. Similarly, we have a person who has gone out to politics and rose to become the chief minister of the state, of his state. We have somebody who has actually gone out to produce films and extremely big blockbuster films, and maybe you have seen the movie like Three Idiots and Dangal. Maybe these are some of the films which were produced or made by him. I mean, and because of this holistic education that we provide, the not just, I mean, the world also recognizes it, and we have been rated quite well in these QS and other ranking parameters. We have been consistently rated as #1 in the country, and very healthy ranking at the global scale. In fact, very recently we have been ranked in the top 50. In fact, at the rank number 49 in engineering worldwide. So this is again to emphasize that not just we feel that we are doing good, but there is a lot of validation that is also happening from the outside world to our activities. So we started off around 60 years back with the promise of providing technical education to independent India, and we have actually come a very long way, and we were one of the first institutes to be conferred the Institute of Eminence status by the Prime Minister, by the Ministry of Education. And so we got this tag around 3 years back, and one of the first institutes to be recognized with this very prestigious tag. So moving on to the last section. So I will just now talk about what are the opportunities and what can you see, what can you expect if you plan to come to IIT Bombay. So we provide a scholarship to masters students to study. Most of these scholarships are provided by the Indian government. And we have special scholarships for students from Sri Lanka, as you can see from this slide. This is to essentially promote the very strong historical and cultural ties that our two countries share. And some of these scholarships, and as Professor Sudarshan had said, that having that exposure to a different culture and a different way of learning can be very enriching in the long run. And it also helps to sort of build bridges and bring a lot of interaction and a lot of positivity. And that's what we expect to get from these scholarships, through these scholarships. So for both masters and for PhDs, there are a large number of these scholarships that are available. Just to give you a sense of these amounts that are given here, this is very similar or slightly more than what an Indian student would get here if they would register for the same program. So these are very, very competitive, and I mean, they are very much sufficient for you to take care of it. And most of the time, students do land up saving a good percentage of this stipend money that they get. So it's more than adequate, is what I would say, to definitely support yourself and maybe a spouse if you're married. Now, I'm not really going to discuss this, but this slide I've just put to just show that we don't really need too much other thing than what you would normally be submitting to any institute for admission. So we essentially need like a statement of purpose, recommendation letters, complete application form, and so on. So you can of course go to our website, and of course there are questions. We can clarify that in our Q&A session. So if you are interested in applying, we still have a month to apply for the next round of admission. So up till 30th April, the admissions are open. And if you are not able to make up your mind, you can still apply in the next round of admission, which will be open till 15th of July. And the links are provided here, and we can, or you can go to our website and you can find out these details from there. So this is essentially what I have. So, and I'm again thankful to you for coming and attending and hearing us out. We will be happy to answer any questions in the Q&A session. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Professor Amit, and also Professor Preeta and Professor Sudarshan for your presentations. Now we will open the floor for discussions and questions also. And I see that I can see a lot of opportunities and a lot of facilities available. So I mean, before I discuss, but I feel I would like to hear from the participants so that we can continue the discussion. And then later on, I will emphasize what we see as benefits and the opportunities. But beforehand, I think we better allow the the participant to ask their questions. So the floor is open for all of you to ask questions. Friends?
So if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to put them in the Q&A section. Also, if you can raise your hand, we will allow you to talk. So this notice is for all the attendees. Thank you.
So there's a question. Do the master's or doctoral students need to show GATE or some sort of exam results in the admission?
Yes. Yeah, so we don't really need a GATE exam. So they can actually apply through the funding agencies that I had shown earlier. So we can apply through the ICCR portal, which is Indian Council for Cultural Relations. There is also Study in India. So these are some of the options. So the students can actually go to the website, or they can come to our website and they can get redirected to these. And there is no need for them to really write GATE for this exam. But if they are coming under the Institute Fellowship, then we would need a GATE exam or GRE or some equivalent exam. But for coming through the other sponsoring thing, you don't really need GATE or GRE.
So I kindly request all of you to get the opportunity because I mean, it's a lot of duties. We managed to organize this seminar or the discussion.
Dr. Kamalnath, I'm Shamin here.
Yeah.
So maybe can we get some information about this short-term fellowships, and under this COVID situation, whether there will be a possibility for them to apply during this year, or what would be the chances that, and also whether undergraduates can join after graduating for this kind of summer school or internship program, because sometimes our undergraduates are now reading for the final exams. So whether after that they can join for this kind of program.
Yeah, so the students can actually come through an exchange while they are already registered in a degree program at either the bachelor's or the master's level. We have provision for going for an exchange. And if they want to finish their study and then register in our program, that is also possible, as we are saying, and we have fellowships and scholarships for that. So both these options are available. So I don't know if that answers the question that you have raised.
I mean, that's very valid, I mean, relevant question, because our students used to go for short-term, one area is the industrial training, or we call industrial training, or the internship. For short internships, so some departments, particularly in the engineering, some departments, they do have 3 months or 10 weeks in industrial training, and some departments, they have 20 weeks industrial training. So if we can have, because regularly some of the students, they used to go to European institutions. So but having this arrangement, I think we can have a closer relationship and send more students to the EU for short term. Also, that is one of the aspects we can consider, the short term exchange program. And also we can think of sending students to follow some of the courses in your institution for 1 or 2 semesters and have a credit transfer mechanism, which we are discussing right now at the university level. So that is the second opportunity, apart from what we have and you have presented, like the MPhil and PhD, which are standard things.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Kamala. So what you are saying is right. We can actually accommodate students for summer as well. So that is also possible. So if the students want to spend a summer with us, that is definitely possible. And yeah. So
yeah, one issue.
Can I add a point here, Dr. Kamalnath?
Yeah.
So the credit transfer part, I think that will need some further discussions, because we currently do have, it works kind of two ways. I mean, if your university is going to give the degree is going to come from the parent university, and you will simply recognize some of the courses done at our end, then it's relatively simple. I mean, because it's completely up to you, and we only have to accommodate those students.
Yes.
They do the courses, we send you the grades, or we give them the transcripts, and then within your system, you account for those credits done and count it towards the degree requirements. But there is another mechanism which we do have in place with some institutes, which are sort of joint degrees. So they do part of the work there, they do part of the work here, and then the degree is jointly awarded. But that's a more involved process, because that needs approvals from both the ends and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to let you know that there are multiple ways of doing this joint education part as well.
So what I was trying to tell was that because of this COVID, we are out of sync, and then the programs are now disarrayed, and then right now we are conducting some online and then physical exams only, and the courses were conducted online. So the synchronization would be something we have to think of, because even I think it should be the same case with you also. So
yeah, we are off by about a month.
Sorry?
We are off by roughly a month from our regular schedule.
Same as
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but apart from that, I think, because as I said, the university has already established a team to look at the credit transfer mechanism, because we didn't have such mechanism before, and we got a lot of requests from other faculties, and then we lost a lot of opportunities also, because we get the chance, but we can't send students because they are not officially recognized by the university. So the good students won't go, because they are going to miss the batch if they go for the exchange program. So that is not good. So we are trying to come up with a plan. So I think it will happen soon. So that option will be there very soon.
Yeah, so that would be the simplest. I mean, we can accommodate those students in our classes here.
Yeah. Thank you. And then there are questions. One is, you can see, can you? What would be the minimum qualifications, research experience required to get admission to the postgraduate studies at IIT Bombay? If someone applies for doctoral studies, is it mandatory to have master's degree, and how could they find interested research areas, available PhD positions, or contract supervisors? It's a long question.
So, Professor Preeta, you want to answer that?
Yeah.
So the minimum requirements, minimum qualifications are decided by the individual departments. And Professor Amit or Tanvi can correct me. I think once they get an application from the student, they send it to the intended department, the department that the student has indicated that they are interested in joining in. And the department examines whether the students meet the eligibility criteria or not, and then gets back to the academic section saying, yeah, these students meet our eligibility criteria, they can be granted admission. For Indian students, at least, having a master's degree is not mandatory for a PhD, but then they have to either have a certain number of years of experience post undergrad or a GATE score. So I am not quite sure how we handle that for international students, but either Tanvi or Amit can answer that, or we'll figure it out and we'll let you know how that requirement translates for our other country students, those who only have a bachelor's degree. To come to the second part of how do they identify supervisors and so on, the simplest is to look at the website of each department. They have a listing of faculty, they have a listing of faculty research interests, and the students should simply drop them an email. Say that, look, I'm interested, and before I explore, I want to know a little more about their research and so on. Not everybody may reply, but I think that's the simplest way of going about it. That's how we've all done it at some point in time. So, or if they know some students here, then that's a better way of getting information. Get in touch with the students who are probably more accessible than the faculty member who's juggling 50 things at the same time. So that's the only way really is to go through the websites and identify what their areas of interest are. I don't know whether they could also contact the IR office and say that, look, I'm trying to get this information, I'm not able to, can you help me out? So
yeah, I think that's so good, Professor
What
Priya.
Professor
So,
Preeta said.
international office can help in finding prospective supervisors in any chance. I think maybe that would be great as well.
Yeah,
I think they do. They do some level of helping to identify, right? At least I recall the IR sending some emails to some departments saying, look, these people are interested and so on. Sorry, I think Professor Sudarshan is trying to say something.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is two things. One is that most departments, which, as Professor Preeta said, require GATE if you do not have 2 years experience. However, in 2022, GATE is being conducted in Colombo. So I assume this will continue going forward. So I think that's a good opportunity for some of your students, because one of the problems that IITs have when we look at international students is that we don't know what their background is compared to the other students. And for the students' own benefit, GATE is kind of the common thing. So if you take GATE and you have a certain level of performance, then you know that you will do well when you come here, because the other students who are coming for a master's program also have that same background. Otherwise, sometimes there is a mismatch. Perfectly smart students who don't have the background may struggle a bit. So I think that is something we could encourage, that you could look at taking GATE actually. The other thing is there are other mechanisms, need not just be GATE. I think GRE and others are also metrics which we have been using, if I'm not right. Preeta, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we have been looking at these metrics for international students, because of course international GATE is still very new and just starting in some sense. I think this is something which students can aspire for even without a master's. And if you have a master's, of course, then none of these is an issue.
Sir, I think there is another question. Maybe I will just put it up. It says, can current master students in science stream, we have a PG institute here, so can they continue their research with IIT, and will there be any scholarship opportunities for that?
So normally we allow, they can come under an exchange program, and that is possible. And maybe Professor Sudarshan can add something to that.
Yeah, I think Professor Amit gave a list of potential sources of scholarship. So I think they're all valid sources. And there is also this Institute of Eminence grant, which IIT Bombay has got from the Indian government, which will be there for another couple of years. And there is some funding there also for getting international students. So there are definitely opportunities for scholarship. That said, the cost of coming to India and the living costs here are fairly low. It is not like going to US or Europe, where the cost of living is extremely high. Here, because housing is, we have hostels which are very low cost, food and everything is quite inexpensive here. So funding should not be a big issue there.
And also, I think exchange programs, we also have exchange programs governed by specific MOUs where some of these things are taken care of. For example, it's worked out as part of the MOU, okay, who pays for the students' living expenses? Where do they pay the fee? Do they pay the fee in the parent institute, and then the host institute pays for their living expenses? So those are things that can gradually be worked out between the two institutes in the longer term. If we expect, if we want to build a longer student exchange, we need to have these systems in place uh, to support students travel and stay. So we've done enough of these. So I think we have all these sort of templates built in. Who pays for what when students travel?
Yeah, now the MOUs that we have are very, very broad, and there's no specific terms and conditions like that. But I think International Research Office can prepare a set of possibilities and then draft some agreements between so that it will act as a template from our side, so that we can give it to the students, and when the similar questions raised, we have those documents ready with us, so that anybody can follow those steps specified and agreed upon with the institute. So I think we can discuss at our INRC level to prepare that kind of collaborative document, because the MOU that we have is not that specific.
Yeah, so Dr. Kamalnath, I think what we figured, and this was that we have tons of MOUs, and which were all these generic MOUs that, as you are saying, and when it came to students, those generic MOUs were not very helpful. Students have these very practical concerns. Is somebody going to be able to support my airfare? What are living costs? Who will pay hostel charges, and so on? So I think our Dean IR office has put in a lot of effort, and they now have some of these very concrete MOUs, which, like you are saying, are of great help to students to plan.
Yeah, so we can actually build an MOU as per the requirements of both the partners. So that is not an issue. Mr. Kamalnath, as you are saying, maybe we can work out whatever is best for both the sides. We can definitely work it out.
So right now, I think we have discussed last time also, we have a little bit of problem with the MOUs, but since we have an MOU already, so the others could be taken as a guidelines or something, so that it should not be sent to the ministerial level approval unless we want it. So I think we can discuss at our INRC level to come up with some set of documents. And there are another two questions. One is it possible to apply for TA technical assistantships if a candidate has secured scholarship positions, or vice versa?
Over here, teaching assistantship is part of the scholarship.
Okay.
As of now. So it's not an independent thing. Although at the undergrad level, we have some teaching assistantships which are not linked to the scholarship, but at the postgrad level, they are linked. I don't know if that answers your question, but if you join here with a teaching assistantship, that is your scholarship.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then there's another question. Does a candidate have to learn or take course in learning any language? Or is it possible to manage without taking Hindi or any other language course?
Yeah. Our medium of instruction is English. So as far as studies go, you don't need to know Hindi.
Okay.
However, if you want to, travel around Mumbai, you can manage with English. If you want to travel around India, you can manage with English. Although Hindi, a few smattering of Hindi might help you. But otherwise, there is no issue. You don't have to worry about language.
Sign language goes a long ways.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I had a question now. I see a lot of opportunities, particularly engineering and science, because we have not discussed anything about humanities, because we look similarity between your institution and our institution, where we have engineering and science and almost all the disciplines. What I am interested in, one area is this space science and the defense. So are they, I mean, is it a policy, or is it, whether the foreign students can participate in this kind of, because in other countries, some of the such programs are not, even the employment is not possible in space industries in some cases. But what is the policy in that case? Did you get my question?
Yeah, we understand your question. I'm not aware of any specific policy. Amit, would you know? Preeta?
Yeah, I mean, see, as far as there are two aspects. One is that whether the students, when they are working, if the project is sponsored by like ISRO or any other space agency, can foreign students work, foreign nationals work in there? So as far as we understand, there is no such, there is no such restriction. So they can work on these projects. Like, for example, some countries do not allow foreign nationals to work on their space or their defense projects, which we can confirm that, but I don't think there is any such restriction. Now, after that, once the student graduates, can the student be employed in these agencies? So that is something that we are not aware of. That can be checked from their websites.
Yeah, I think that's that's all that I also know of. I mean, unless the funding agency imposes specific constraints while giving a project, from the institute side, we don't. But specifically funded projects from defense, they may have such requirements.
But at least I'm not aware of any single case where any such requirements was posed, any such restriction was posed. So yeah.
Another thing I have seen is the opportunities for entrepreneurship, because I know that there are large number of bilateral agreement between India and Sri Lanka. So I think we can, I have not studied them in detail, but I think these agreements will be conducive to have that kind of entrepreneurship as well, I think. So there's a lot of opportunities for our students if they start this kind of collaboration, and also we can extend it to further to have entrepreneurship as well. So I think there are ample opportunities. So, and there's another question, will we be able to do part-time jobs or technical externships in India while studying in IIT? Is it allowed, and is there any opportunities to earn own expenses? So this may, I don't know, this may be referred to self-funded, I am not sure, or whether it is once a person received the scholarship, whether they can do it. So the question is not that clear, but you can answer yes.
If they receive a scholarship, they can't. All our students who are funded by the Ministry of Education, that clearly states, those terms of those stipend clearly states that these are full-time students. So legally they can't. If somebody is doing some tuitions on the side, we don't keep track of it. For foreign students, I suppose it will be again the terms of the scholarship that they are drawing. I mean, if ICCR funds them as full-time students, then again, it would be problematic if they take up a paying job outside. That is my understanding. But then in those cases, I also think that the stipend that is paid, Professor Sudarshan already pointed out that living at least inside campus is fairly cheap, so hostel rent and mess charges and so on are comfortably covered by the stipend. So I don't think there would be a need. If they come on a scholarship, they would not need to generate additional funds.
Yeah, so if I can add to that, many of the exchange programs that we have done, the fees are paid in the home university. So if you are coming for one semester here, for example, you continue paying your tuition. So the only expense here is the living expense, and the hostel rent is at this point quite nominal. The food and other expenses are not very high. I think something like 5,000-6,000 rupees a month. I don't know what that is in Sri Lankan rupees, but Indian rupees, that sort of amount is more than enough. Plus travel is not that expensive either. We are very close to each other. So I don't think monetary issues, if you're able to support yourself in Sri Lanka from your parents' support or whatever, that I think will work just fine with about the same expense level in India. There are not actually a whole lot of regular jobs for students, while they are working. Online, of course, there are many things, but which we don't track. So I know that some students do various things online, programming and so on, but that does not come under anything which we control. So regular jobs on campus or off campus are not something which our students typically do. However, in summer, people do have summer internships. So that opportunity, again, I don't know what are the visa terms specifically, but at least for Indian students, summer internships are something which are done commonly. And if exchange students are eligible for that, that would be nice. But maybe Professor Amit Agarwal can dig up more information and share it with you on that.
If the students is self-funded, is there any restriction of doing other employment?
It could be based on the visa conditions. So that's why I don't want to speculate on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but typically there are not too many opportunities for students, as Professor Sudarshan has already pointed out. So at this stage, getting an employment is not that straightforward. So they should not really sort of think that they will be able to pay for their expenses. So if they're self-financed, I think they need to draw the finances from some sources and not rely on earning for themselves and then paying up the fees and every other expenses.
Yeah. Then there's another question. How long is the minimum duration for master's and doctoral studies?
Well, master's is more straightforward. It's a 2-year MTech. We are also starting a 1-year Master of Engineering. That's for working professionals, but that's only just getting started. But 2-year Master of Technology. Doctoral studies tend to be a little more open-ended. I think anywhere from 4 to 6 years, depending on how the research project goes. But funding is typically given, at least again at our end, the Ministry of Education funding is for a period of 5 years.
There's another question. Can a master student who has not completed yet, but will complete by next year beginning, apply for doctoral studies with the MSc degree results pending? If candidate apply for summer program, would the application be disqualified without the MSc degree certificate? I think the same question, right?
Well, see, I think for our own students, we do give admissions provisionally. It often happens that their degrees come later.
Yeah.
So our admission offer says that this admission is provisional to you, showing the appropriate certificates at the time of registration or at the time of joining. And if the candidate cannot produce those certificates, then those admissions are liable to be cancelled. Actually, we don't even stick to the time of joining. I think we give them a month or 2 of grace period. And in fact, I remember, Tanvi will confirm, right? There were these students from Ethiopia who had some trouble getting their original certificate from their university while they were ready to graduate from IIT Bombay. So like I said, we're very student friendly. But one thing that we do not do is release, even if we say we stretch the eligibility period by the entire 2 years, we will not release the certificate earned at IIT Bombay until you confirm that you've met the previous eligibility requirement. So it is possible. People should go ahead and apply if they're hoping to graduate within a few months of the application deadline, provisional admissions are granted. And I didn't understand the second part about the MSc and summer and the person becoming ineligible and so on.
I think what is referred is summer intake, I think, most probably. Because usually the summer programs are not, we don't look at the qualifications.
Yeah, yeah. So
summer intake. Maybe.
A summer intake they can apply. See, for example, if say the application is, I think Amit said the deadline. Let's say the deadline is June, and they expect their degree to arrive only in August. They can still apply. I mean, they will be able to submit the transcripts up until the point of application, I assume. And they can say degree is liable to be awarded, likely to be awarded at this time. That's okay.
I hope the question is answered.
If you have some more questions, dear participants, you can please put them in the Q&A section. I think we have a few more minutes. We can take a few more questions, right?
It's a question, what are the paths to change career? For example, will physical science graduate be able to obtain engineering career or maybe degree? Is there any success stories?
Maybe Professor Sudarshan can answer that.
Sure. So there are certain departments in IIT which take in students with varied backgrounds. That is, engineering departments which take students with, say, a physics master's background. You would have to look at the specific brochures and the department-wise requirements to see if that sort of a switch is possible. So if you look at, let's say, computer science, I believe masters in computer science, MSc sort of computer science may be eligible, but MSc in other branches would not be eligible to join computer science. So similarly, most engineering branches would require an engineering degree. Sometimes it's restricted to the same department, but more often than not, there is some flexibility that you can have your undergrad in other engineering branches and still take a different engineering branch. But coming from sciences to engineering is also possible in certain specialized cases. I think electrical engineering, for example, has certain parts of it which are very physics oriented. So they may take people with a master's in physics, and I'm sure Professor Amit Agarwal can give some more examples like that. There are a few.
Yeah, now since you have this 1 year taught program, so can that be taken as a supplementary or the preparatory part for changing the field?
Which program? 1 year?
1 year coursework.
Oh.
No. That 1 year coursework it's designed for working professionals. It's a Master of Engineer degree, and it's designed for working professionals. And these programs are being developed to target very specific, people working in very specific areas. So, for example, our Center for Entrepreneurship has made a program on entrepreneurship, but their target audience is people with certain backgrounds, people who have some experience with startups and so on. So that would not work, but there are plenty of departments which will take people with science background. I think even biology has a relatively diverse intake because they have bioscience and biotechnology. So, for instance, though it is a science department, it will take people with engineering backgrounds. Similarly, my department, which is metallurgical engineering and material science, because we are material science, we take people from physics and chemistry both, backgrounds in physics and chemistry. So does chemical engineering. And my guess is that mechanical engineering probably takes people, okay, I don't know sciences, but they probably take people from a fairly diverse engineering background. So yeah, they should look up the eligibility requirement. Most departments have a diverse intake into their If not masters, definitely PhD streams.
So what I referred was the PhD. The first year it is coursework, right? As I understand.
PhD first year is mostly good. Well, first semester is coursework if people are coming with a master's degree. Our requirements for those coming with a master's degree are very, very small. I mean, mandatory requirements. So people can complete it in one semester. But it's doable. Most PhD projects are fairly interdisciplinary. They should look, I'm sure they'll find departments which will accept their master's degrees in sciences.
Okay.
So there's a small question on behalf of the participants. Now, when students participate in PhD programs, so do all those students receive teaching assistantships at IITB, or I mean, how will it be worked out?
I think that Amit can answer. So for Indian students, yes, most of them do, unless they are sponsored or they are self-financed or something. For foreign students, I think our Dean IR can answer what.
Yeah, so we have funding from a couple of agencies, as I was showing, government agencies. We also have institute TA-ships, which are available. And we also have an option of self-finance. So we have essentially all three options, government finance, as well as institute finance, as well as self-finance. All these options are available to you.
Any more questions?
If there are no questions available, so maybe we can move to the adjournment of this session. So before that, I would like to invite Ms. Tanvi. Maybe you can speak a few words of thanks from your end before we could adjourn.
Thank you, Roshan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tanvi Mehta, and I am from Office of International Relations, IIT Bombay. It is my pleasure to deliver this word of thanks on behalf of IIT Bombay. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Shameen Jindasa, Director, International Relations Office, University of Pennsylvania, for suggesting us to host this session. I am also grateful to him for being available for today's session. It is because of his guidance that IIT Bombay has an amicable relationship with the University of Pennsylvania. I am grateful to the entire team from University of Pennsylvania, Professor Kamala Nath, Professor Amalka, and the other team who met IIT Bombay and helped this relationship take off. I'm especially thankful to Roshan and Kalhari from International Relations Office of University of Pennsylvania for meticulously planning and anchoring this session. I personally had a very wonderful experience interacting with them over the emails for coordinating this session. Also, I'm thankful to Professor Sudarshan and Professor Preeta Pant for sparing their time and making their comments. Finally, I'm thankful to all the prospective students for showing interest in attending today's session. Without your participation, this session would have been meaningless. I can assure you that you will also have a great learning and an enjoyable experience if you decide to come to IIT Bombay. So we look forward to welcoming you at IIT Bombay soon. I wish everyone a very good health. Please stay safe in this present uncertain time. Thank you. Thank you so much. Roshan, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Tanvi. So if you have any shareable brochures and other documents, please be kind to send them to us, and then we will send to our prospective students.
Okay, good. I forward it to you. Thank you.
Okay. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Kamala Nath Samarapon for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roshan. Now, before I give my vote of thanks, because we didn't allow our the eminent members to give their final thoughts if they have anything before I do my presentation, not the presentation, the vote of thanks.
Yeah, so I would like to thank everybody for coming to this session. It was really wonderful to interact with all of you, and we greatly value this partnership, and would be happy to receive students and any other suggestions and ways to take this relationship forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Professor Sudarshan, do you have anything to before winding?
On a flippant note, I'd like to thank everybody for thanking everybody. More seriously, thanks for giving us this opportunity, and we look forward to having your students come here.
Thank you very much, Professor. Professor Preeta?
Now I'm enjoying these connections made during lockdown. So I think that's been one of the pluses, that because we don't meet people in person, we meet people online, and it's thank technology for that.
Okay, thank you very much for. So it's official word of thanks from my side. But actually, Professor Shamin was planning to do this, but he was asked to go to the Senate for an urgent matter. So I was asked to do the the word of thanks. So thank you very much. I mean, organizing this from your side, from your international relation office. And from our side, we have our international relation office and Roshan, Kalhari, Professor Shamin and all. So I think it was a very fruitful session. So formally, I thank Professor Sudarshan, Deputy Director, Academic and Infrastructural Affairs of IIT Bombay. And then Professor Preeta Pant from Associate Dean, Academic Programs, and Professor Amit Agrawal, Dean International Relations, and Ms. Tanvi. So thank you all of you spending your time, valuable time. I think we have spent about 1.5 hours, and then we know that even though it is online, we don't have much time to play with, because a lot of online things coming up. So it's thank you very much for devoting your time, and I hope that we will be able to. This entirely depending on the students' perspective. But apart from that, I think the exchange programs and the other things we can organize, definitely. But postgraduate and master's program, the students themselves has to come up and then apply. But we can facilitate, and also we will discuss it the International Relation Office, and then prepare the brochure, the documents that we have, we want to have. So we will do that from our side. So apart from the formal master's and PhD programs, of course, we look forward to arranging something for short-term collaborations, like internship, as well as a couple of semesters to follow courses in your institution. So thank you very much again, and wish you all the best, and stay safe and have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So much. Bye.
Bye.